It was the last ride before the long route to Denver. I hadn't planned on making any stops, just load, go, and breathe in silence for the next 12 hours. But then Emma called, and of course, I said yes. Emma never asked for much. Ever since our parents passed, she'd learned to survive on her own. Smarter than me, tougher too. But somehow, still gentle, still curious. She was waiting near the dorm gates with that same grin she used when she was 7, holding a small duffel and a Polaroid camera hanging from her neck. "Long time no see, Jacob," she said, dragging the last syllable with mock formality. I rolled my eyes, smiled, and got out to give her a hug. Her hair still smelled like cedar shampoo, the same brand Mom used. "You sure you want to ride in this thing?" I said, tapping the dusty side of the cab. "It smells like coffee, tires, and failure." Emma grinned. "That's the smell of adulthood." She climbed in beside me. I fired up the engine, and the old truck gave a tired cough, like always. And then the wheels started rolling east. She talked, of course she did, about professors, her latest art project, the documentary she wanted to shoot. I nodded, half listening, half watching the road unwind like an old tape. And then, casually, like slipping in a needle between the ribs, she said, "Can we stop somewhere on the way?" I glanced at her. "Bathroom?" "No," she smiled. "Winchester Mystery House." I almost hit the brakes. "You're joking." "Nope." "It's only 15 minutes off route," I checked. "I thought you hated that ghost nonsense." "I don't hate it. I just didn't want to go alone." I looked straight ahead. The sun was low, warm gold melting across the fields. We were far from San Jose already, and I'd taken that detour once, a long time ago. Too long ago. Emma turned to me, her voice softer now. "You remember it, don't you?" I didn't answer. "Jacob, we were kids. You were 10. I was, what, 6? "I remember," I said. That was a lie. I didn't remember details, just flashes. The smell of varnished wood, a tall staircase that led nowhere, a woman's voice whispering from somewhere above. I remember running. I remember the way the back door wouldn't open, no matter how hard I pulled. And I remember something in my hand when I left. Emma leaned back, satisfied with my silence. She knew it meant yes. We turned off the main road 30 minutes later, following a cracked 2-lane street that twisted past cypress trees and old farmhouses. The further we drove, the quieter it got. The sun had dropped low behind us, bleeding orange and red into the windshield. And there it was, just like I remembered. The Winchester House. It looked like it grew out of the earth, crooked and massive, with windows staring out like dead eyes. Gables, balconies, towers with no doors. A home with no rules. And yet, it stood like it had always been there, waiting. Emma took a deep breath. "Finally? You sure about this?" She nodded, already reaching for her camera. The kind that spit out the photo a minute after you took it. I hated those. She stepped out, snapped a shot of me with the house in the background. The picture started printing with that soft, mechanical whir. "I'll just be 20 minutes, she said. "Don't run off without me." I wouldn't dream of it. She stopped, frowned a little. "Do you remember anything else from the last time?" I shook my head. "Just that we left." Emma nodded, then gave me a long look. "Maybe this time I'll find out why everyone says it never ends." And with that, she turned and walked toward the house, her silhouette cutting across the golden light, the photo still in her hand. She didn't look back. I waited until she disappeared through the main doors, then looked down the road ahead. I had miles to go. Freight waiting, a deadline. I turned the key. The engine started, just like always, and I drove away. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. The sun was lower when I turned around. Not gone yet, but falling, like the day itself was backing away from what came next. I remember my hands tightening on the wheel, my throat dry, like I hadn't swallowed since she got out. The highway blurred past, trees and signs and fields melting together. But the only thing I saw was the door closing behind Emma. She said 20 minutes. I hadn't even made it 5. The phone call, it still echoed in my ears. Not just her voice, but the way she said it. Like she was holding her breath between every word, like she couldn't move. Jacob, it's moving. I'm not alone. The door's gone. Then nothing. Just a high click, like teeth snapping shut. I'd never turned a rig around that fast. My chest felt like it was caving in. I don't know how I didn't crash into something, how I didn't flip that trailer into the ditch. I just drove. Fast, hard. No thoughts but one. Get her out. I hit the turnoff, the one that led to the old Winchester house. And the moment my wheels touched that road again, I felt it. The shift. The cypress trees looked different. The sky, grayer than it had been. Like someone had turned the contrast down. The fields were still, too still, like even the wind had stopped to listen. And then I saw it. The house. No crowd, no cars, no Emma. Just the house, squatting in the half-light, like a thing that had crawled out of the ground and decided to wait. I pulled up fast, threw it in park, jumped out. Emma? Nothing. No voices, no footsteps, no echo. Just me and that house. I ran to the gate, locked. A low chain stretched across the entrance with a crooked sign. Closed today, no tours. I rattled it anyway, called again. Emma, if you're in there, answer me. Still nothing. A voice behind me made me jump. You all right, sir? I turned. An old man in a maintenance vest stood just past the parking lot. Lean, sun-creased, holding a broom like a cane. I didn't hear him walk up. My sister came in with the tour, I said. 5 minutes ago. She hasn't come out. He frowned, real slow. There hasn't been a tour today. What? My voice cracked. I dropped her off right here. She walked through the front doors. He scratched his chin. We haven't had a tour scheduled since Monday. No one's here but me. I dug into my jacket pocket, pulled out the Polaroid. Look, we took this when we got here. He squinted at it, took it from my hand. See? That's me. She's right next to... I stopped. The blood in my arms turned to ice. She wasn't there. Just me standing in front of the house, alone. Empty driveway. Same angle, same light, same moment. No Emma. I snatched it back. Stared. Held it up to the house like maybe if I aligned it right. She'd appear again. But there was no mistaking it. She was gone from the photo, like she'd never been there at all. I don't understand, I whispered. The old man looked at me, almost gently. Sometimes people come looking for ghosts. Sometimes they bring their own. I turned to him. What the hell does that mean? But he was already walking away. And the house seemed to lean closer. The lock gave under my boot, rusted chain snapping open like bone. I didn't wait, didn't hesitate. I pushed through the gate and crossed the gravel, fast and stupid, heart crashing against my ribs like it wanted out. The house stood ahead, watching. Every window dark, no lights, no sound, no sign of Emma, no echo of footsteps. Just the heavy silence you hear right before something shatters. I took the steps 2 at a time. My boots hit the porch with a dull thud, too loud. The door was shut but not locked, the brass knob cold in my hand. I opened it and stepped inside. Air, still and dry, old, like breathing through a velvet curtain. I waited, expecting something, anything. A voice, a creak, a flicker of light. Nothing. Emma. My voice fell flat, swallowed instantly. I moved deeper, into a narrow hallway with peeling wallpaper and shadows that didn't quite match the light. Every footstep came back a second late, like the house needed a moment to think before answering. The smell was dust and cedar and something faintly sweet. Wrong, almost metallic. Not fresh, not dead. Just old, settled. I passed a cracked picture frame, a woman in black. Her face was blurred, like the photo had been shaken mid-shot. Her hands rested on a chair, but the chair wasn't in the frame. Just blank space beneath her palms. A second hallway opened up, lined with doors, each one different. One plain wood, one with stained glass, one painted a deep, blistered green. I picked the center, glass with a diamond cut in the middle. I pressed my hand against it. It felt warm. Behind me, a soft sound. I turned, nothing there. But the door I'd come through was gone. No hinges, no frame, just wall. I pressed my palm flat against the panel, hard. It was seamless. I stepped back. No. I turned to the hallway again. The doors hadn't changed. At least, I didn't think they had. Emma. I started moving, fast, deliberate. Opened a door. Room. Empty. Another door. Room. Chair in the corner. A teacup on the floor, shattered like someone had dropped it while turning away. Another room. Familiar. My breath caught. The carpet had a coffee stain, faded pink. I knew it. I remembered it. From when I was a kid, this room, this exact room. I backed out fast. I wasn't 10 anymore. I wasn't supposed to be back here. The floor groaned under my weight, not loud, not sudden, just annoyed. I turned a corner and there she was. Far end of the hallway, standing still, facing me. I stopped. Emma. She didn't move. Her face was turned slightly, like she was listening to something beside her. Something I couldn't see. Took a step forward. Careful. Emma. Hey, it's Jacob, it's me. She turned away, slowly, and walked through a door. I ran after her, boots slipping on warped wood, breath tight in my throat. I grabbed the doorknob and pulled. Another room, empty. I stepped in, looked around, nothing, no one. The walls in here were different. Wooden panels, darker, slick with old varnish. The room had no furniture, but the floor was scratched, like something had been dragged in a circle. The window had bars on the outside. There was a sound behind me. Light. Paper. I turned. A Polaroid photo lay on the floor. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was me. Standing outside the house. Alone. The same photo Emma took when we arrived, but this one was different. Behind me, in the window above, there was a shape. Faint. Watching. Smiling. Not Emma. Not me. The photo curled in my fingers like it didn't want to be held. And somewhere, not far, I heard a whisper. She's still inside. The air changed as soon as I stepped inside. It wasn't cold, not warm either, just still. Thick, like the house had exhaled and was waiting to breathe in again. The door clicked shut behind me, soft, precise. I turned, hand already on the knob. Locked. Of course, I didn't panic. Not yet. I told myself it was old wood, old hinges, an automatic latch. Nothing more. My boots thudded against the floorboards as I moved, slow, careful, deeper into the entryway. My breath felt loud in my own ears. Emma. No echo. Just my voice dropping into nothing. The foyer was wider than it looked from outside. A tall staircase curved up into shadows. Wallpaper peeled in lazy curls. Dust floated like ash in the last light, bleeding through the stained glass window behind me. I waited, listening. No voices, no footsteps, no sounds of movement, no hum of electricity. The house wasn't abandoned. It didn't feel empty. It felt paused, like someone had just left the room, but never came back. Emma, I called again, louder this time. Nothing. A corridor opened on the right, narrow and dark. Another to the left, just as silent. I moved forward, toward the main hall. The floor creaked beneath me, long, slow groans that stretched into the corners. The boards didn't flex right, like they remembered a different shape. I passed a mirror on the wall. Stopped. My reflection was normal. But the hallway behind me, in the glass, was longer. I turned, looked back, short, just a few feet. Looked again. In the mirror, it went on and on. Faded, flickering. I stepped past it, felt better not looking. Something scratched faintly behind the wall, tiny, like nails on wood, then gone. I passed a door on the left. Closed. I didn't touch it. Past another, open an inch, and gently pushed. A parlor. Dusty furniture covered in sheets. A fireplace full of cold ash. Nothing moved, nothing blinked. But I didn't want to go in. I turned back toward the hall. That's when I heard it. A soft click, not near me. Above, like a lock turning, or a door closing itself. I looked up the staircase. Couldn't see the top. Just the last few steps disappearing into dark. I waited. Still nothing. No footsteps, no voice, no whisper. But something had moved. I felt it. The floor settled beneath me, just the faintest shift. The air thinned. And I realized the house was listening. I took the stairs slow, one step at a time, each creak louder than it should have been. The banister was smooth under my hand, worn down by too many fingers that weren't mine. The wood felt warm, not alive, not quite, but not dead either. Halfway up I stopped, turned back. The foyer looked smaller now. The front door, still closed, but it felt farther away than it had been. I kept going. At the top, the landing split, left and right, identical in shape, not in feel. The left side looked darker, heavier somehow. The right, too still, like a photo that had never finished developing. I went left. The hallway narrowed fast, claustrophobic, the walls close enough I could touch both at once. The air was thicker here. Not dust, exactly. Something old. Something left behind. I passed a window. Paned glass, warped. I leaned in, hoping for light, for a glimpse of the world outside. But the window opened into another room, not outside at all. A rocking chair sat there, rocking gently, back and forth, back and forth. I stepped back. Farther down, I reached a door with no handle, just a keyhole, shaped like an eye. Behind me, a floorboard popped. I spun around, Fast. Nothing. The hall was empty, but the wallpaper, it was different. I reached out, touched it. My fingers left a smear, fresh paint. It shouldn't have been wet. I looked again. The pattern wasn't flowers anymore. It was eyes, lined up in rows, watching. No, I blinked. Back to flowers. I moved faster now, past a crooked sconce. It lit itself when I passed. Dim yellow glow flaring into life. The flame didn't flicker. It just hovered, waiting. A mirror at the end of the corridor caught my eye, not because of the reflection, but because it breathed. I stopped 5 feet away, watched. The surface expanded, slow, pulled in like a lung or something pressing its face against the other side. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I waited. And then, tap. Just once. A single, deliberate tap from inside the mirror. My spine locked. My mouth went dry. I backed away, turned the corner, and found myself back at the top of the staircase. No. I hadn't gone in a circle. I was sure. But here I was. Same view, same stained glass window at the base. Only now, something had changed. The foyer was darker, the air heavier. And on the wall, above the front door, there was a painting that hadn't been there before. A girl, standing in this very hallway, holding a Polaroid camera. Emma. But her eyes were scratched out. I didn't remember this hallway, but my feet did. They moved like they'd been here before. Down the warped planks, past the half-shut door with a humming draft, around the curve where the ceiling dropped too low. Something pulled me, not with force, but with familiarity, like the way you find your bedroom in the dark. Muscle memory, not thought. There was a door at the end, pale wood, warped from time. I touched it, and it opened without sound. Inside, a small room. Square, bare. No windows, no furniture. Just a box. Sitting in the center of the floor, I knew it before I saw it. A child's jewelry box. Pale blue, flaking brass hinge half snapped. My breath caught as I stepped closer. The air was warmer here, like the room had been holding it in for years. I knelt, reached out. My fingertips hovered just above the lid. I didn't want to open it. I needed to. The lid creaked. Soft. Careful. Like it didn't want to wake anything. Inside, lined with faded velvet, sat a ring. Small, gold. Dull now with time, but still heavy with something I couldn't name. The shape was simple, plain band, but the inside, I turned it. My chest tightened, scratched into the underside, crooked and shallow. Jacob. I didn't breathe. A memory hit, not like a flash, not like a dream, more like a smell, a color, a weight in my hand. I was young, maybe 10, wandering behind a tour group, curious, bored. A dusty hallway, a cracked door, a glint on a table. I hadn't stolen it, not exactly. It was just there. And I took it, slipped it into my pocket, never told anyone. By the time I got home, it was gone. I thought I lost it, or imagined it. I never spoke of it, never thought about it again, until now. The box was waiting, the ring still inside. It had come back, or maybe I had. Behind me, the floor creaked, just once. I turned, fast. No one. The door had closed. I hadn't heard it. I picked up the ring. The velvet underneath left a faint imprint, a circle slightly darker than the rest. I turned it over again, looked at my name. Not engraved, carved, messy, childish, like it had been scratched in with something sharp and trembling. I didn't remember doing that. But my fingers knew the shape. My palm closed around the ring, and I felt it, subtle, like something old and patient had just smiled. I kept the ring, slipped it into my pocket without thinking, like I had when I was 10, like it belonged there. The box stayed where it was, lid open, velvet catching the dim light like old blood. I didn't look back. The hallway had changed again. Not the shape, not completely, but something in the color. The walls were darker, like the wood had soaked up whatever warmth was left. There were no sconces now, just shadow, and the faint suggestion of something breathing through the seams. I moved quick. I didn't run, but my body wanted to. At the end of the corridor, a door stood open, not wide, just enough to suggest someone had passed through, careless or in a hurry. The carpet in front of it had a scuff mark. Someone had twisted on their heel. I knew that motion. It meant a decision, a moment of panic. I stepped inside. The room was larger, high ceiling, bay windows, boarded from the inside. Thin strips of daylight oozed through the cracks like they didn't want to be here. The wallpaper peeled in lazy curls. On the far wall, taped crookedly, was a map. No, not a map. A drawing. Pencil, rushed. Several sheets taped together to form something jagged and handmade. Arrows, crossed out doorways, scribbled notes in the margins. Emma's handwriting. I stepped closer. Rooms marked with 3 question marks. Loops drawn over loops. Circles where the path had doubled back. One hall was labeled, "Heard myself walking, but I was standing still." Another note next to a stairwell. "Don't trust directions. Trust sound." There was a circled phrase near the center. I had to lean in to read it. Jacob was here. My breath caught. My fingers brushed the paper. The pencil wasn't faded. This was recent. Hours, maybe minutes. I turned, eyes scanning the floor. Her pack sat near the wall, half-zipped, open sketchbook lying beside it, loose pages curled up like they were breathing. I knelt, picked up the sketchbook. The first pages were calm, floor plans, arrows, notes like she was treating it like a puzzle, something solvable. But halfway through, the tone shifted. Shaky lines, messier script, random words written over each other. Phrases like, "Doors won't stay where I leave them." "The house learns." "Mirrors lie. Voices aren't mine." Then a page with only one sentence, written 3 times in the same hand, each line worse than the last. I followed Jacob's voice, but Jacob wasn't there. My stomach turned. The next page was a drawing, a figure in a hallway, head turned, arms stiff at their sides. Their face was blank, no features, just shadow where eyes should be. Behind the figure, something long, thin, draped in black, reaching. The final page had no words, just a mirror, cracked straight down the center. On one side, Emma. On the other, a blurred reflection holding her hand. I shut the book. Something moved to my left. I froze. No footsteps, no sound. Just the feeling of motion, the displacement of air. A shape. I looked. Nothing. But there was a faint smear on the floor. Heel marks, drag marks. Tiny scuffs like someone had walked in socks. Fast, I followed them. They stopped at a small door, half height, hidden behind a shelf pushed slightly out of line. I reached down, opened it. Darkness. Not pitch black, deeper. The kind of dark that feels like pressure behind your eyes. A narrow staircase led down, winding. The air from below was colder, damper, but not dead. There was something moving down there, Not loud, just soft. I leaned closer, and I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Not close. Rhythmic. Human. I called, "Emma." Silence. Then, faintly, my name. "Jacob." But it wasn't coming from the stairs. It was behind me. I turned. The drawing on the wall had changed. The circled phrase, "Jacob was here." It was gone. Now it said, "Jacob is still here." And the paper was bleeding, just at the edge. Ink or something like it. Spreading slowly from the corner like it didn't want to be noticed. I stepped back. The mirror on the wall beside it fogged over. A handprint appeared, pressed gently from the other side. Fingers long, too long. I closed my eyes, counted to 3, opened them. Nothing there. The mirror was clean. The wall was blank. But the sketchbook was no longer on the floor. I looked around, searched, nothing. It was as if it had never been there, but I remembered every word, every line. And the last thing I'd heard, that wasn't Emma's voice. Not really, not anymore. The stairs didn't creak the way they should have. They breathed. Soft, slow pulses in the wood beneath my feet. Like walking on something that wasn't quite solid, wasn't quite sleeping. The air got colder the deeper I went, not from drafts or open space, but from absence. The kind of cold that feels like it's looking at you. I didn't use my flashlight, didn't want to see too much. The dark down here didn't feel like darkness. It felt like skin. Each step down was tighter, narrower. I had to turn sideways near the bottom. Shoulders brushing against raw, unfinished walls. Cobwebs touched my arms like they meant something, like they remembered. Then the stairway opened into a hallway, barely lit. One crooked bulb swung near the ceiling, not from wind, but movement. I hadn't touched it. The corridor stretched out in both directions, long, uneven, like a spine that had healed wrong. Pipes ran along the walls. One of them dripped, slow, metallic, like something bleeding behind the plaster. Then I felt it. The breath. Not mine, not air. A wall to my left. Exhaled. It pushed out, just a little, like something flexing from the inside. Then it shrank back. I froze, watched, waited. And again, a subtle shudder, like fabric catching wind. No, not fabric. The wall was moving. I stepped closer, laid my palm flat against the surface. Wood, yes, but soft. Under tension, the way your chest feels when you're holding a scream. It pulsed again, not random, rhythmic, breathing. Slow, slow, inhale, pause, exhale. I whispered, "Emma." The wall pushed back, not hard, but just enough to let me know it heard. I yanked my hand away. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Not fast, not panicked, measured, light, coming from behind me. I turned, no one there. But the light bulb was still swinging. I moved forward, away from the wall, trying not to look at it. Trying not to think about lungs behind the wood. About something waiting for me to lean in just 1 inch too far. I passed another door. Metal, bolted, no handle. A faint noise came from the other side. A shuffle, a scrape. Then silence again. I didn't stop. Farther down, a break in the corridor. Another hallway intersected, narrower, dustier. When on the wall beside it, a dozen photographs were pinned in neat rows. Black and white, all the same size. I stepped closer. Every photo was of a person, standing alone in front of the Winchester house. Different decades, different clothing, same distance, same angle. No names, no dates, no smiles. I scanned the rows, middle left. My breath caught. Emma, the same outfit she wore today. her camera around her neck. But she wasn't smiling, and behind her, barely visible in the window above, a shadow. I reached up, touched the photo. It was cold. The wall beneath it pulsed again, not the breathing now, something else, like a heartbeat, a slow, enormous one. I turned. The hallway was smaller than before. No, it was closer. The ceiling had dropped a foot. The walls pressed in, not enough to trap me, just enough to warn me. I kept moving. There was a door at the far end. No frame. Just a break in the wall that looked like it had always been there. Or maybe hadn't been until I needed it. Inside, a small room. Empty, except for a table. A single candle flickered in the center. The flame didn't dance. It held still, perfectly straight, like it didn't dare move. The walls here were soft gray, padded, like a cell, the kind meant for silence. I walked around the table, sat. There was something carved into the wood, shallow but deliberate. I made it to the center. The words were cracked. The grain was darker around them. I traced them with my thumb, and the candle blew out. Not flickered, not faded, just gone. I sat in the dark, not total. There was a glow from the wall. It was stretching again, slow, breathing in. But this time, something was behind it. A shape, tall, curved, reaching. It pressed forward, not enough to break through, but enough to define its outline. A head, arms, fingers, pressed against the inside. And then, a voice, right at my ear. Jacob. Not whispered, not loud, just there. I turned, fast, but there was nothing. No air, no face, no shape behind me. But the ring in my pocket, it burned. Sharp, hot pain, sudden. I grabbed it, pulled it out, dropped it on the table. It hissed, actually hissed. The wood sizzled where it touched. Smoke rose. The letters carved into the table pulsed once, then stopped. And then, the wall exhaled. With it, a voice. Not Emma, but her pitch. Her cadence, her breath saying, "I saw you, you left me." The watch on my wrist had stopped. I didn't wear it often. Cheap thing, leather cracked. But I always kept it wound. It was dead now, frozen at 3:03. The second hand still twitched, not forward, just twitching, like it wanted to move, but something held it. I stared at it for too long. Then I stood. The room was too quiet, not silent. Worse, it was the kind of quiet that leaned in, waited to see if you'd break it first. I didn't. I left the ring, left the room. My boots moved slower now, not by choice. The hallway didn't like rushing. The air pushed against me, not hard, just steady. Just enough to remind me I was being allowed forward, not invited. I passed a mirror nailed sideways to a wall, low enough to catch my knees, my hands, not my face. That was by design. The glass rippled as I passed, not reflection, movement, like something on the other side hadn't decided what shape to take. I kept walking. Every turn looked familiar now, but wrong. The geometry, it resisted memory, like a hallway designed to forget itself. Then I heard it, a faint sound, metallic, a ticking. I followed it, through another archway, down a corridor that sloped slightly down like a throat. The sound grew louder, still soft, but insistent. I turned the corner and stopped. There, on a small table beneath a crooked light, sat a dozen clocks, all ticking, not in sync, all different shapes, different sizes. Mantle clocks, pocket watches, a wristwatch on a velvet pillow that looked just like mine. Each second snapped out like a warning. Clack, clack, clack. Each one a heartbeat out of rhythm. Some fast, some slow, none together. In the middle, one clock had no hands, just a face. Blank, smooth. But the glass fogged in short bursts, like breath from the inside. I leaned closer. The face of the clock was mirrored, dimly. Just enough to show a reflection, but not mine. Emma. She stood behind me, her eyes wide, unblinking. Her lips moved. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back, the mirror was empty, but the fog was still there, fresh. I reached out, touched the glass. It was warm. Then all the clocks stopped at once. Silence. Not the natural kind. Not a pause. A cut. Like someone hit mute on the world. Then a low hum rose. Deep in the bones of the house, a vibration. My teeth ached. My chest felt too tight for my ribs. I looked down at the watch on my wrist. The second hand jumped. 3:03. Then again. 3:03. I took a step back. The clocks began to tick again, but slower now. Unified. Each click hit exactly on the second. Deliberate, like the house had synced its heart. I backed out of the room, never turning. Down the hall again, past the mirror, still rippling. Then the lights above me went out, one by one, in rhythm. Click, click, click. Behind me, footsteps. I didn't look. Not yet. I moved faster. Another door ahead, wooden, painted white but stained gray with time. I pushed it open, fell inside, slammed it shut. Darkness. Not empty, watching. I flicked my lighter, flame weak and thin. The walls here weren't wood, not plaster. They were mirrors. All four. And in every one, I saw myself. But not me now. Different versions, younger, older, sick, smiling too wide, blank-faced. And in the far corner, Emma, not moving, just standing, waiting. In the reflection, I saw her hand lift, slowly. She pointed behind me. I turned. No one. But when I turned back, her reflection was closer. Now she was pressing both hands to the mirror, mouth open, screaming. But there was no sound. I stepped forward, put my hand where hers was. The glass was wet, not misted, wet. My fingers came back slick with something thick, not blood, not water, something old. Behind me, my watch beeped. Just once. 3. The beep echoed, just once. Sharp, mechanical, final. I looked down. The watch face was blank, just white glass. No hands, no numbers. Gone. I didn't breathe. Behind me, the mirror still pulsed with warmth. Not heat, just presence. Like someone standing too close behind glass. I didn't turn again. I stepped out. Back into the hall. The door closed behind me without sound, like it had never opened. The air had changed again. Thicker now, sweet, wrong, like rotting perfume. And the sound, faint, like whispers without mouth. Dry voices brushing past my ears, too soft to hear but loud enough to know they were there. I walked. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Because stopping meant letting the walls think. The hallway twisted left, then right, then straightened. And there, just ahead, was another door. Different, tall, arched, painted black with something glossy, almost wet. The handle was a brass serpent, mouth wide open. Its tongue formed the latch. I touched it. The door swung open, and I saw them. Faces, hundreds, maybe more. Lining every inch of the chamber's walls, layered, overlapping, pressed into the wood like wax seals that never cooled. Not portraits, not paintings, actual faces, flattened, preserved, eyes closed, mouths slightly open, some frozen mid-scream, others calm. like they were dreaming. I stepped inside. The floor was soft, not carpet, not dust. It gave slightly underfoot, like walking on something padded, something buried. I didn't ask what. I moved to the nearest wall, looked closer. One of the faces was familiar. I leaned in, and its eyes opened. Just a crack. Enough. I stumbled back, heart in my throat, legs unsteady. The face didn't move again, but another one did. 2 rows down, left corner. The lips moved, no sound, just shapes. Jacob. I turned. The far wall shifted, slowly, like it had just taken a breath. Then the whispers returned. Not soft now, not distant. Close, right behind me. Each voice carried a word, but not all the same word. A chorus of fragments. Torn thoughts, panic, regrets, echoing around the chamber. Some voices I recognized. Emma, my own. Others I'd never heard, but felt. A child said, I didn't mean to. An old man whispered, she said I could leave. A woman cried, don't close the mirror, please don't. The walls leaned in, just a little, enough to make the room feel narrower, heavier. A groan came from above. The ceiling pulsed. And then, silence. One face in front of me opened its eyes, wide, wet, bloodshot. It smiled and said, you shouldn't have taken it. The ring. My hand went to my pocket, but it wasn't there. I turned in place. Panic sharp, skin cold. Something tugged at the back of my jacket. I spun. No one. Just the wall of faces. Watching now, eyes open, every single one. And they were all looking, paying me. I turned again. At the center of the room stood a mirror I hadn't seen before. Not large. Oval. Standing on a black iron frame. I moved closer, pulled by something heavy and unseen. The surface was dark. No reflection, no room behind me, just black. Then, slowly, it changed. A hallway. One I hadn't walked yet. In it, Emma. She stood still, her hands at her sides, eyes wide but calm, like she was listening to something very far away. I reached toward the glass. My fingers touched it. Warm. Then, ice. The mirror cracked. Not loud, just a soft sound like glass exhaling. A single fracture split down the center, then branched, and in the final instant before it shattered completely, I saw it. Something behind her, not human, not alive, not dead. Tall, wrapped in black, fingers too long, head tilted in a way no head should tilt. It touched her shoulder, and she smiled. The mirror exploded. I fell backward, hit the soft floor, gasped. The wall behind me shifted, faces closing in, and the chamber whispered, dozens of mouths at once. You brought it back. She was waiting, not in a room, not behind a door. She was just there, suddenly, at the end of the corridor that hadn't been there a moment before. Standing still, perfectly still. The woman in black. Tall, too tall. Dressed like grief given shape. Thick, layered mourning cloth that dragged against the floor, though her feet didn't seem to touch it. Her veil hung low, covering everything. But not enough. I saw the edges of her face. Bone pale, thin. Lips too red. Like they'd been painted in something that shouldn't be red. She didn't move. She didn't need to. My chest tightened. My hand found the wall beside me, looking for balance. Something solid. But it pulsed again under my palm. Slow. A warning. The hallway behind me stretched. I could feel it, lengthening. Like the house wanted to keep me here. Right here, staring at her. She raised one hand. Slowly. Deliberate, not shaking. Her fingers were long, tapered, wrapped in lace that frayed at the tips. And she pointed. Not at me, past me, to a door. I didn't remember it being there before. Just a narrow frame, old wood, brass knob, slightly turned. I looked back at her. She didn't move. The gesture stayed, silent, demanding. I turned toward the door, took one step, then another. The sound of my boots felt wrong, like I was walking on something hollow. I reached out, gripped the handle. It was warm, not from light, not from heat, from presence. I turned it, pushed. The room inside was empty. No windows, no light, just Emma. She stood facing the far wall, hands at her sides. Breathing slow, I stepped in, fast. Emma. She didn't turn. I crossed the room in seconds, reached out. My hand touched her shoulder, cold. She flinched, so sharp, so sudden, like she'd just remembered her skin. Then she turned. Her eyes were wrong. Too dark, too wide. Jacob, she whispered. It didn't sound like her. I stepped back. She took a step forward. Jacob, you brought it back. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. Behind her, the shadows deepened. The woman in black stood in the doorway now, not entering, just watching. Emma's breath hitched. Her lips trembled. She's been here, she whispered, voice breaking. Since I arrived, since before. I looked into Emma's face. There was something else behind her eyes. Not fear, not confusion, recognition. I've seen this before, she said, softer now. When I was a kid, before I ever came here, in dreams, in mirrors. I stepped closer. She didn't back away. She's part of the house, she said. Or maybe... She paused. Maybe the house is part of her. I turned toward the door. The woman was gone. The hallway beyond it, gone too. Now, just walls, sealed, smooth. Emma sat down, cross-legged, calm, like a child waiting to be told a story. I crouched beside her. What did she say to you? Emma blinked slow, looked at the floor. She said I'd always been here. Silence. My hands trembled. I didn't know why. I couldn't feel the cold anymore. Just weight. Like the air was heavier now. Like the house had shifted. And I knew. We weren't alone. The wall behind Emma shivered, just slightly. A long sigh passed through the room, and the floor tilted, not visibly. But I felt it. My balance shifted. My body leaned without meaning to. She's still watching, Emma whispered. She doesn't blink. She doesn't have to. Then, a sound. Click. Not a lock, not a door, a camera. Polaroid. Emma's. It lay beside her now. I didn't see her bring it in. The photo slipped out, slow, mechanical. She didn't touch it. We both stared as it printed. Then it stopped. Blank. We waited. The image came in, slow. 2 figures, standing in front of the Winchester house. But the faces were gone, scrubbed white. Emma looked up at me. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. Behind us, again, the whisper came. Closer this time. From nowhere. From everywhere. You remember, Jacob? And I did. For a moment, less than a breath, I remembered something. A hallway, a tour, a girl, a flash of black silk in the corner of my eye. My fingers wrapped around a golden ring. The sound of the house, waking. She didn't stand. She just sat there. Emma, knees drawn in, hands loose on her thighs, like she'd forgotten what hands were for. I watched her. Not like a brother. Like a stranger who remembered her name but couldn't quite place where they'd met. The camera at her side whirred again. Another photo slid out. She didn't touch it. I stepped closer, slow, careful, like she might vanish if I moved too fast. The photo developed in the space between us. It was of the hallway, empty, but I could see myself, barely. Faded, flickering, like a ghost caught halfway through leaving. Emma didn't look at it. Instead, she whispered, "There's a door." Her voice was thinner now, like it had traveled a long way to reach me. "A door that leads out. I saw it once." I nodded, didn't speak. She looked up, eyes searching the ceiling. There was a mirror inside it. It was round, warped. I think it showed things how they used to be. She paused. Or maybe how they're going to be. A hum rose beneath us, deep, constant, like we were sitting on top of something enormous, something dreamy. Emma closed her eyes. "I almost made it to the threshold," she said. "I could feel the air, real air. I could smell the grass." But I looked back. Her voice caught. "I looked back, Jacob." I swallowed hard. My throat felt wrong, tight, like the house didn't like her saying that part out loud. "She was waiting there," Emma said. "At the edge, standing by the door, not blocking it, just watching. And I knew. If I moved, she'd follow. I tried to picture it, but I didn't have to. I could feel it. That moment, choice stretching like wire between breath and motion. And I stepped through," Emma said. Silence. She smiled, but it wasn't joy. It was resignation. I stepped through and I wasn't outside anymore. I was in the same place again, the same hall, just farther in. The room darkened just slightly, like the air was giving up. She opened her hand, held something out to me. A key, old, black, bent at the tip. I took it. My hand trembled as I did. "She gave me that," she said, before I stepped through. Said it opened something important. I think it was a trick, or maybe it worked, but I didn't use it the right way. My fingers closed around it. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat, then went still. Emma stood, slowly, legs shaking but holding. "She doesn't want us to leave," she said, "but worse, she wants us to try." We walked together, back into the corridor. It had shifted again. Now it looked like the one from the photo. The same peeling walls, same rip in the rug, same crooked light. We walked in silence. At the end, there was a mirror. Round, warped, clouded in the center. My breath caught. Emma stepped toward it. "It's here," she said softly. "This is where I turned back." I stood beside her. For a moment, just one, I felt something. Real air. Cool. Like the ocean was somewhere just outside the frame. Beyond the mirror, trees, a path, grass moving in the wind, and light. Not electric, not gas, sunlight. I reached out. Emma grabbed my arm. "Jacob, look." Her voice was flat, final. In the reflection, we weren't there. No figures, no shadows. Just the path, just the trees. But the mirror's edge, it pulsed, breathing. The moment stretched almost enough to believe. Then, a shape entered the frame. The woman in black, walking toward the mirror. Not fast, not slow, but sure. Emma turned to me, her eyes full of something awful. Hope. "Maybe if we run, we won't make it," I said. I didn't know how I knew, but I knew. She nodded. We looked at the mirror. The path had gone. Now it showed a hallway again, one we hadn't seen yet. Deeper, farther. The key in my hand was hot now, too hot. I let it fall. It landed with a sound I'll never forget. Not metal, not weight, like something exhaled through teeth. Emma stepped back. I looked at her. She smiled once, just for a second, then turned and walked through the mirror. No ripple, no sound, just gone. I followed. There was no sound when I crossed through. No shift in pressure, no flicker in the glass. 1 second I was there, next to the mirror, and then I wasn't. The room I stepped into wasn't a room. It was silence. It felt like standing inside a breath that hadn't been let go. No walls, no ceiling, no light source I could find. But I could see. A corridor stretched out ahead. Long, too long, lined on both sides with doors, each one different. Some open, some cracked. Some rotted from the bottom up, like they'd been drowning. The floor beneath me had no give, no echo. I turned, no mirror, just black. I whispered, "Emma." No answer. But I heard something. Not a voice. A music box. Faint. Sweet. The same 3 notes repeating, but one of them always just off. I followed it. The hallway wasn't endless, but it wanted to be. I passed a door with a child's name carved into it. Grace. Letters uneven, some scratched deeper than others. Another had handprints. Small. Burned into the wood like someone had pressed too hard, too long. Then one that pulsed. Not light, not air. It throbbed, like it had a heartbeat. I didn't touch it. Farther in, I found Emma. She stood at the center of a circle, etched into the floor. Thin lines, curling symbols. Nothing I recognized, but my eyes didn't want to look straight at them. Her arms were crossed. She was whispering something, to the air, to herself. I couldn't tell. I stepped forward. She turned. Her eyes were wrong again. Not empty, not scared, resolved. Like she'd already seen what I was about to choose. "There's one way," she said softly. Her voice echoed in a way it hadn't before. Like the space didn't just carry sound, it remembered it. "A way to end it," she said. I nodded, didn't ask how. She pointed behind me. I turned. The woman in black was there, not close, just present. Still, the veil drifted like it was breathing. Emma said, "If one of us stays, the other can get closer, but only closer." I knew what she meant. She wasn't offering freedom. She was offering trade. One forward, one behind. The house didn't open doors. It took weight, memory, names. One had to stay. I looked at the doors again. Everyone led somewhere we wouldn't come back from. I reached for Emma's hand. She didn't flinch. We stood in silence. One last second of stillness. The circle around her began to glow. Not light, just the suggestion of it, like old memory surfacing. She stepped back. No tears, no goodbyes. Just this. "I remember when we were kids," she said. "And you told me if I ever got lost, you'd find me." I tried to smile. Couldn't. "You did," she said. "You found me." I said her name. Once. And then the light took her. Not violently, not painfully. Just erased. Like she'd been written in pencil. The music box stopped, and all the doors opened. Everyone. I stepped forward. Not through them, just between. The walls bent inward. The sound returned. Footsteps. Mine. But from ahead of me and behind me. The woman was gone. I walked. The corridor narrowed. The light flickered. Not real light. The kind that lives behind your eyelids when you press them shut too hard. Then, a door, unlike the others. Plain, wooden, weathered, exactly like the one I opened when I first brought Emma here. I put my hand on the knob. I turned it. I stepped through, and I was outside. Or it looked like outside. The parking lot, empty. The house behind me, quiet. Sunlight hit my face, but it didn't warm. I reached into my pocket. The ring was there again, and so was the key. I looked down. My hands. They weren't mine. Older, stained, not real. I heard the engine of a truck start. I turned. A man in a cab, waving, his sister in the passenger seat, smiling, alive. They pulled away. I stood in the same place I had before, watching, just like she did, waiting. I stood at the edge of the lot, waiting for the warmth to mean something. It didn't. The sun overhead didn't move. It just hung there, pale, flat, like a memory of daylight, printed on thin paper and glued to the sky. There were no cars, no voices, no wind. The air was still, but not quiet. It listened. I turned. The Winchester house loomed behind me, unchanged, too unchanged. No shadows shifted across the windows, no dust lifted from the sills, no birds, no creak, no time. I took a breath, tried to feel the difference, but my lungs were empty before the air ever reached them. That was when I noticed. The truck was gone, the one I'd seen, the one I thought I'd seen, the one with me in it, or someone. It was never there. There was only me, and the house, and the feeling that I hadn't stepped out. I'd stepped deeper in. The parking lot cracked under my boots. Hairline fractures stretched in all directions, tiny veins in concrete skin. I walked, not toward the house, just across, toward nothing, toward anything. The lot never ended. I walked and walked. The house always stayed the same distance behind me. I stopped. Turned. It was closer now, much closer, right at my back. I didn't hear it move. I never would. The front door was open, not wide, just enough to suggest I hadn't finished what I came for. But I had, hadn't I? My hand went to my pocket. The ring. Still there. The key. Cold now, almost brittle. I pulled it out, held it up to the door. It pulsed once in my palm and split, right down the center. It cracked into two halves, fell and crumbled to black dust, gone. Like it had never belonged to me at all. Behind me, a sound. Footsteps. Not many. Just one. Soft. Bare. Slow, I turned. No one. But the air shifted. Not colder, just thinner. As if it had to make room for something else. I stepped back. Right into the threshold. The door shut behind me. No slam. Just that soft, final click of something being decided for you. I didn't try to open it. Wouldn't have mattered. I walked. Inside was the same as before, but more distant now. Like I was looking at the memory of a memory. Rooms I'd already seen once, decayed again. Walls I'd already touched, now grayer, smoother, stretched thinner. I passed the photo wall. Every face blurred now, smudged. Even Emma's, just pale ovals with no center. I kept moving. The hall twisted, doubled back, folded into itself, then opened into a staircase I didn't remember. Stone, worn smooth from too many feet. I took it down. Each step felt familiar. Not from before, from again. The bottom was dark, but not black. It glowed faintly from something beneath the walls, like the house had roots, and they were burning. I turned a corner. There, on a long table, was a row of objects. A watch, a photograph, a camera, a child's bracelet, a comb with one tooth missing, all laid out carefully, neatly, like offerings or inventory. My name was carved into the wood in front of the ring. My full name. I hadn't told it to anyone since I was 12. I reached for the photo. It was blank, until I touched it. Then it showed me, standing in this exact room, hand outstretched, looking at the photo. I dropped it. It landed face up, still showing me, still now. I stepped back, behind me. A whisper. No words. Just the shape of words. Like the house was breathing sentences it didn't want to say aloud. I turned slowly, and there, down the corridor, stood Emma. But not Emma. Her face was soft, too soft. Smooth where scars should have been, empty where fear should have lived. She smiled. Not cruel, not kind, just resigned. I opened my mouth to speak. She raised a hand, shook her head. Not this time. She stepped back into the dark, and the door behind her shut, gone. I was alone again. Not in the way I had been before. Worse. Now the house knew me. Now it had my name, and there was no one left to call it back. It didn't end. That's the part that breaks you. Not the fear, not the dark, not even the forgetting. It's the realization that the house doesn't kill you. It waits. I don't know how long I sat there, knees drawn up, back against the wall, eyes fixed on nothing. No clocks here, no windows, only the creaking sound of wood that was never supposed to settle, because it's never finished moving. And it does move. Sometimes I catch it, just barely. A stair that wasn't there before. A hallway that leans now, like it's tired of pretending to be real. Other times, the room tilts when I blink, or the picture frame bleeds from the corners, or I look into a mirror, and I'm not looking back. That version of me has stayed still for days, smiling, waiting for me to forget which one I am. I almost did. I think Emma did. I hear her sometimes. Footsteps just beyond the wall. A door opening, soft, like she's trying not to wake something. Then her voice, behind the glass, behind the floor, behind my eyes. Jacob. She always sounds tired now, but not afraid. She let go of that first. I'm not sure if it was a choice. The house offers things, not all at once. Little traits. It starts with silence, then offers you sound, a whisper in a voice you miss. Then the sound becomes shape, and the shape becomes memory. And that's when it asks for something. A word, a truth, your name, if you haven't already surrendered it. I gave mine up when I said it aloud to the mirror. When I said it in full, it echoed. And the echo didn't come back the same. Now, the house says it sometimes, in my voice, from the next room over. Jacob. It doesn't need to call me louder than that. I come every time, because maybe, this time, she's there. Maybe the hallway will be short enough. Maybe the mirror will show the path again. Maybe the sunlight will warm. But every time, another door, another room, another version of before. Once, I found the photo again, the one Emma took. It had changed. The house was still there, but we weren't. No blur, no blank space, just gone, as if we'd never stood there at all. I keep it in my pocket. It doesn't fade. None of them do. The house keeps everything it's earned. It stores them like teeth in a jar, not to display, just to know they're there. Proof of its patience. I found a journal once, tucked into a drawer that hadn't existed the day before. The paper was yellow, edges curled. It wasn't mine, but the handwriting was close. First entry was short. It's not haunted, it's hungry. That was it. No date, just the truth. Later, I found my name written again, on the wall, not painted, not etched, carved, deep, crude, with something dull. The wall bled. Not red, gray, thick. I stepped back, but I didn't scream. I haven't screamed in, I don't know how long. It wouldn't matter. She hears us anyway, whether we speak or not. The woman in black. She doesn't walk anymore. She drifts, through ceilings, through mirrors. Sometimes just out of sight, but never out of reach. She doesn't need to chase. She waits, like the house. I've seen her behind the curtain once. I pulled it back, thought it was just a window, and she was there. Pressed to the glass, her face had changed. Still veiled, but not to hide, to protect me from what she is underneath. I dropped the curtain, fell to the floor, didn't move for days, or maybe just hours. It doesn't matter anymore. Not here. I stopped counting the loops, the dreams within dreams, the doors that open into rooms I've died in. Yes, I've died here, or almost. But the house doesn't finish the job. That's not what it wants. It lets you die in pieces, one hope at a time. And then it waits for the next knock, the next brother, the next voice saying, "I'll be right back. Just wait here." The next photo still warm in the frame, showing no one at all. The tourists will return. They always do. The guides will smile. The pamphlets will say, "A marvel of architecture, a mystery of design." They won't hear the voices in the vents. They won't see the handprints that keep coming back on the glass. But one of them will feel it. The moment they step inside, that slight shift of pressure, like the house just breathed in and held it, and is waiting to see who it wants to keep this time. They always ask the same thing. Has anyone ever gotten lost in here? And the answer is always the same. A little smile, a little laugh. No one's ever really gotten lost. But the truth is quieter. It's whispered through the walls, carved in the grain of the stairs, etched behind the mirrors. No one left? Not really. We're still here. And the house? The house waits.